Hope I can start this thing off with a bang. How's everyone feeling? Good? Excited? Jet lagged? Anyone? What's the farthest someone traveled to get here?
20 blocks.
20 blocks? Okay, well, you win the prize for the closest walk. Arizona, okay. California, all right now California's.
Israel.
Okay, I don't think anyone's going to be able to top that.
Don't be surprised.
Well, welcome everyone, and good morning. It's great to see everyone here. I feel lucky. I have one of the first sessions. You guys are still fresh, so you're not worn out yet, and your brains aren't overloaded. So there's a lot of room to absorb a lot of great information. Try not to hurt your ears today. I'm sorry.
Is that compressed data coming through?
Yes, exactly. So just let it flow into the brain. Yeah. Okay. So I'm Tyrona Heath. I'm a program manager at Google. What that means is I develop educational programs around Google's products to help our agencies, resellers, advertisers, nonprofits be more successful in marketing their businesses. My specialty at Google is Google AdWords. However, I also help connect all of our customers to other products that are complementary to Google AdWords. So for example, Google Analytics is another product that people use quite often with Google AdWords, and obviously YouTube, and so there's a lot of different ways to advertise on Google. So I help connect all of those things together to make an educational experience for our customers. Okay, so a little bit more about me. Oops. Clicker a little overactive here. My hometown is New York City. Go New York, yay! I've been at Google for about 6 years now, and my favorite product is Gmail. But I really do like a lot of Google's products. I'm really passionate about it. I love Blogger, I love Google Earth, I love Picasa. There are a lot of great products, and I like that a lot of them are free. So love that. Right now, my favorite site is businessweek.com/smallbiz. I'm actually kind of obsessed with Karen E. Klein's podcasts on small businesses. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, they're great. I listen to them on the train on the way to work in the morning. So definitely got a passion for entrepreneurship, and I would imagine that there's a lot of entrepreneurs in this room right now. So before I continue, it's not fair to learn about me and I can't learn about you. So first of all, I want to take a quick poll and see how many of you already are using Google AdWords to market. So pretty much everyone, but there are a few people that are here probably just getting started, beginning to learn about AdWords. So there's a little something in here for everyone, right? So today I'm going to start out with the basics and go right up through the intermediate / some advanced strategies for optimization. And I hope that there's at least something that each and every one of you can take away. If you have any specific optimization challenges that you're dealing with, feel free to come and talk to me after the session. I'm happy to talk with you about anything that you may be dealing with. My name on Twitter is Tyrona, pretty straightforward, and LinkedIn, I'm Tyrona Heath. All right. So now that we've finished that, let's move on to one more thing. I welcome questions during the session. If I'm going to answer a question later on in the presentation that you have, I may ask you to wait for that. Or at the end of the session, I'll be sure to save some time for questions. We've got a lot of material to cover, so let's just dig right into it. Okay, so in order to optimize your Google AdWords performance, it's important to first consider how to build a strong foundation. How do you know where to begin? So I'll give you some key questions to think about before beginning to optimize your AdWords account. In addition to that, we'll also talk about some of the tactics and some of the levers you can pull. So I would imagine if you're optimizing around one or two variables, you're probably just scratching the surface. So we're going to look below the surface and start to think about some of the other levers you can pull to improve performance. We'll go from there into the basics. So these are things that you can implement in a relatively short amount of time to improve performance. From there, we'll move into some of the more advanced strategies. And then finally, we'll wrap up with some additional resources, so some products and tools that really complement your ability to optimize AdWords. And then we'll answer some questions. Sound good? All right. So here are some key questions. And this is kind of the beginning marker on your journey for optimization. So what everyone should be thinking about before beginning to optimize is, first of all, what are you hoping to achieve by marketing on Google? Right? So to get from point A to point B, you want to know what's my goal? What's my destination? How are you going to measure success? So on that journey, how are you going to know that you accomplished that goal? What data do you have? So do you have the right data to optimize your accounts? So for those of you who haven't yet built an advertising account, it's going to take a little bit of time to accrue the data that you'll need to make powerful choices about the direction of your marketing strategy. Next thing is, if you've already been advertising on Google, what works? So take stock of what's already doing well, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Next thing is to think about what sites you're advertising. How are you going to prioritize your marketing strategy? So think about what's most important to you and start there. What are the top earners? Which keywords are converting most strongly? Also, one thing that people don't think about is the seasonality of their business. So different verticals tend to have different cycles. Do you understand the business cycle for the vertical that you're advertising in? And then finally, one of the strategies we'll talk about later on in the presentation is developing a promotional calendar so that you can plan ahead to take advantage of different trends in the market. So for example, Valentine's Day, when CPCs may increase, you can be prepared for that and make sure you adjust your marketing on Google to plan for those different things. So these are some key questions. But one of the largest takeaways that I think those of you who are already advertising on Google understand pretty well is relevance, right? So if you remember nothing else today, one of the goals for optimization is to continually drive towards more and more relevant ads that are more connected to the consumers or users who are finding those different products and services. So creating a targeted ad leads to a good user experience, better click-through rate, hopefully more qualified leads, and ultimately better conversions. Okay? So who here cares about getting more traffic to the site, to their sites? Hopefully every hand goes. How about more conversions? Right? So if you care about that, you want to continually think about how can I make this more relevant? Put yourself in the shoes of the users who are looking at those ads. All right. So where do you start? Oh my gosh, there's so many things to think about. There's all these different buttons and there's a lot of data in the account. How do you make sense of it? So AdWords strategy, I think, can be broken down into 4 steps. And I know there's not a lot of time. Everyone has a lot on their plate. But I think if you continually execute this 4-step strategy over and over again, your marketing is going to get better and better. You're going to spend less, and you're going to get better results out of that. So creating relevant keywords and ads grouped by goals, constantly testing them. So coming up with an experimentation strategy. We're all scientists here. Using reporting tools, whatever they may be, whether they're Google tools like Google Analytics or any other third-party tool. Refining the campaigns, keep what's working, and then start over again, continually expanding your business. So one of the things I also want to caution before getting into the presentation is I think marketing without taking stock of how to improve your account, how to improve your quality score in Google doesn't make much sense. So for those of you who don't know what quality score is, who are just getting started, it's a measure of relevance of your ads. And Google rewards people who spend time optimizing their ads and optimizing their keywords for performance. So if you're just pumping money into AdWords without optimizing at the same time, it's like driving on a spare tire. How far can you go with that, right? So let's now jump into different tactics. So there are 3 specific tactics that I want everyone to think about overall. The first piece is increasing delivery, so increasing your share of voice or getting more traffic to your ads. You can do this by updating your keywords and your ad groupings, opting into the full range of the Google network, so advertising on the content network, which I'll talk about strategies how to do that a little bit later. The next tactic is increasing relevancy. So making sure that you're putting yourself in the shoes of your users and having them say when they search on Google and they see the ad that that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to click on this ad because it's going to deliver something that I'm interested in. And then finally, increasing ROI. So this one's a little bit more challenging because it means answering questions that sometimes you're not necessarily thinking about. But I think it's important to understand which keywords are converting, which products sell the best, which keywords drive the most volume. So you can begin to understand maybe how to bid on specific keywords that are more important to you, and also get the conversion data that's going to drive your marketing investment. So these are the three tactics: increasing delivery, increasing relevancy, and then also finally increasing ROI. So we'll go hand in hand with those three areas of focus. Are a lot of different levers you can pull within your AdWords account to make this happen. So like I said, if you're only adjusting your ad text or if you're only adding more keywords, you're probably just scratching the surface of potential optimization things you can do to improve your account. So there's everything from changing the way your account is structured to how you're focused on different networks. So for example, beginning to understand how the content network can be a very complementary and powerful way to advertise on Google. Changing your ad creative, doing A/B testing with your ads, figuring out what positions are converting best. So there's a lot of different things here to consider. And I don't know why my watch is going off. Excuse me, everyone. And then also budgeting effectively. So one of the things we'll talk about later is when you know which keywords are converting best for you, it may make sense to move those keywords into a separate campaign where you can micromanage them more closely. So I know that's something that maybe not everyone may be doing right now. Okay, but before we get there, let's cover the basics to make sure everyone has a strong foundation for their house. So let's get some participation going here. And I promise you, if you participate with me today, I have some special goodies I can give to you. So I encourage you to speak up today. All right. So I know this is very basic. So for those of you who are a little bit more advanced, bear with me. Looking at this particular ad for specialty cheese, right? If you were optimizing this account, or if you were choosing keywords for this account, which keywords would not make sense to drive traffic to this ad?
Gift.
Anyone? Gift. Any? Cheese making. Right.
Gourmet on its own.
Gourmet on its own. Right. So these keywords don't make sense because they're not tied directly to this ad. So when you think about somebody searching on gourmet, if they search for that keyword on Google and this ad shows, they weren't necessarily looking for specialty cheese. Maybe they're looking for gourmet meat. So these keywords don't make sense. So you'll want to go through your account and weed out any keywords that you find that aren't directly tied to your ad. So put yourself in the shoes of a user. Which keyword here is a little bit questionable? Anyone?
Specialty cheese store.
Perhaps. Anyone else? Which keyword is a little that you're not? Sorry?
Especially cheeses in the USA.
Yes. So this keyword is not necessarily a bad keyword. Longer keywords tend to have better ROI because they're very specific. But most people in the US search on keyword phrases or keyword strings between 2 and 4 keywords or words. So this keyword, not that it's a bad keyword, but you may want to test. And so this is something to think about. If you find very specific longer keyword strings, they may or may not work. I'm not saying they're bad, it just means you should test them. And then we're left with the keywords that make sense, that are connected to this ad that would drive traffic. Okay? Another thing to begin to think about as you're optimizing your account is to begin to think about your customers and how they're thinking as they're searching for ads. So this example shows someone searching for career training information, right? And as you can imagine, some people, when they're beginning their search, they are just doing an exploration. So they're in the exploratory phase. They're not ready to buy, but they're just searching. So if you're interested in customers in that stage, then there are particular keywords that you would choose to match up with that strategy. Just like if someone's comparing or considering different options, they might search for reviews or search for or compare different career programs. However, if you're focused on the conversion stage of the buying cycle, you want to start thinking about using keywords that drive conversions. So action-oriented keywords that are focused on conversions. So really thinking about where your strategy is focused and really conceptualizing and finding the keywords that are aligned with the phase in the buying cycle that makes sense for your customers. That make sense? All right. One thing that I think that people don't do enough of when advertising on Google is having a strong set of negative keywords. For those of you who don't know, negative keywords are keywords that rule out irrelevant impressions, or they rule out people who are searching on Google that weren't looking for what the product or service that you're offering, right? So having a healthy keyword list can prevent ads from showing on irrelevant search queries. I just see time and time again in looking at accounts that people are not doing enough negative keywords. So in this example, for example, if you're driving traffic on women's beauty products and you're not selling men's beauty products, a good negative keyword would be men's. So spend some time, and this is probably one of the easiest ways to optimize your account and you start to see better results, coming up with a healthy negative keyword list. Okay, you have a question?
This campaign, and then we noticed that the word women was driving a lot of clicks but not converting. Can you add women as a negative keyword but without hurting that string?
So the question is, if you're running a campaign and negative keyword is driving a lot of traffic but not necessarily converting, right, should you add it as a negative keyword? Right.
Well,
so
if it's a keyword within multiple strings, so for example, I'm running a ticket website, so I don't want anyone clicking on my ad when they type in tickets, might be looking for train tickets or airline tickets when I'm selling event tickets. So
okay.
if I put tickets in my negative keywords, then will that affect all my other keywords that have YouTube tickets or concert tickets or sporting tickets?
So you want to be careful about doing that. So one of the if you put negative tickets, it may prevent traffic that you actually want. But there are some other strategies that you can use. So for example, one of the things that I'm actually not talking about today are keyword match types. So you can use something like that to rule out negative or impressions that you may not want to see. So there are different ways to combine strategies. Also, you can use the ad text itself to help direct the audience towards a click, depending on what you have to offer. One of the things I can talk about later on or at the end, if you want to come find me to discuss that specific problem, I can help you address that. Okay, question?
If you were to use exact match key type on a keyword, would it not eliminate the need for negative to match keyword list?
Right, so the question or comment is, if you use exact match for this particular keyword, would it eliminate the need to do negative men's in this example? Right, so just to give everyone a quick tutorial on match types, because I'm not sure that everyone knows what they are. Match types are different ways of structuring keyword strings to prevent different audiences from seeing your keywords. So for example, exact match type means that if someone searches on women's beauty products and you have that in brackets, that they would need to search on that exact phrasing of that keyword in order for the ad to show, right? So in that case, if someone searched for men's beauty products, although beauty products would be contained in the same string, it wouldn't trigger the ad to show for this in this instance. So you have a point there. However, I still encourage you to add as many negative keywords as possible. One of the things I'll talk about later is running a search query report to find the keywords that are not relevant. So if you continually do this and add and continue to find the negative keywords that aren't working and use the keyword tool, your traffic's going to improve over time. So you're going to get the people you want. So I can't say this enough. The search query report is one of the greatest things that we've added to the arsenal for people to improve performance of their AdWords account. Okay, so let's move on from here and talk about how to think about conceptualizing the message in your ad. So I encourage everyone to research their competitors. I don't encourage you to click on your competitors' ads because that's illegal. Don't do that. However, research your competitors and figure out what makes sense to the customers that you're marketing for. So in this instance, there's a search query for urban wear. And what we're seeking to understand here is what people care about when they're searching for urban wear. So in these instances, they may care about free shipping or whether or not the business offers a large selection, right? So you can start to incorporate the things that consumers care about into your ads and improve over time. One of the things we'll talk about also is doing testing, so controlling certain portions of your ad and changing the messaging in others to test what is most compelling to users looking for products or services. Yes?
I'm just looking at the relevance of the ad right there. So why is hip-hop clothing at Dr. J's even showing up in the second position if the search query was urban wear? It doesn't mention urban wear at all in the ad.
Okay, so, I mean, so let me answer this question. So this particular ad, why is it showing up in the second position when it doesn't contain the words urban wear in it? Okay? So one of the things to think about is that this particular advertiser, they probably have urban wear as a keyword in a keyword list to trigger this ad to show. What determines who shows is actually the users, right? So every time a user clicks on an ad, it's like a vote for the relevance of that ad, right? So even though it doesn't say urban wear, you know, something in this ad is compelling, has been compelling to users to the point where it's enough to show on that particular search query. Okay?
Could it be that they're bidding higher than the others?
Okay, that's another point. Yes. I'm sorry? Yeah, it could be a broad keyword. Yeah, so they don't necessarily have to have urban wear exactly in their account, but if they have a keyword in their account that's attached to it or related to it, it triggers the ad to show. So there's a complex formula that I'm not covering here that actually drives the auction for these different ads to show. It's quality score times cost per click, and it's that unique combination for every advertiser and every auction that drives the ads to show the way they do, right? Okay, so here's another example. So for ad text optimization, another great thing to do is to include promotional offers or services in your ad text. So you know, things like save 50%, free consultation, to really understand the value proposition and add these types of things into the ad text. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Another thing, especially if you're interested in getting conversion-focused traffic, is to add a call to action to your ad, right? So in this example, the call to action should correspond to the action of the site. So if you want people to book online today, instruct them to do that, right? Whatever it is that you want the user to do once they get to the website, tell them that, right? So if you're not doing this, definitely do it. Also, just as a side note, you want to avoid meaningless slogans and gimmicky language. So obviously, users know that they need to click or visit, right? So don't waste ad text real estate by putting in a meaningless slogan. All right? So here's another example. Catch your customer's eye by making sure that the ad text contains the headlines, right? Or it matches the keywords that someone's searching on. So here's someone clearly in need of beauty supplies, right? So they do a search query for beauty supplies. Which one of these ads do you think they're more likely to click on? Beauty supplies. Another added benefit of this is that when you use the keyword beauty supplies, it's automatically bolded in the ad text. So Google automatically bolds any keywords that also appear in the ad text. So that's an added benefit there. Okay? Here's another one that people don't think about as often. If you are focusing on a specific location, including that location in your ad text can improve your performance. So here's an example. need divorce attorney. And this is a lawyer, or this is for a law firm on the Lower East Side. So people know their neighborhoods. Anyone from New York knows that there's Chelsea, and they know there's Upper East Side, Lower East Side, Tribeca. So this can really be appealing to local users. Okay, so you may want to try a few ads with this, especially if you're doing a local product. Another little known fact is intercapitalization of the display URL. This makes your message stand out more clearly. Just looking at the display URL that's highlighted here for this ad, AdWordsExample.com stands out more clearly in the second ad where you can see that it's intercapitalized. We also have seen increased performance when you intercapitalize the words within the ads themselves. Okay? And then also using multiple ads. So how many of you have more than one ad per your ad group? Good. That's good to see. You want to try at least 2 and even 3 if you can. And then one of the great things is they rotate over time, and the one that's performing the best will start showing most often. I recommend, if you're doing this, doing it in an experimental way. So maybe keeping one part of the ad text the same and trying different special offers or different calls to action until you figure out which one performs most strongly. And this is a little analogy. The ads kind of pose off against each other, and then the strongest ad wins in the end. Okay? Another thing to think about is the structure of your account. So now we're kind of getting into conceptualizing the keywords and the ads together. Focus on making those themes really tight. Think about the whole experience of the user searching for an ad or searching for a keyword on a keyword and then seeing the ad that's triggered by that keyword. Is it an experience that's connected? In this first example, I'm going to call this a bad ad group because the keywords, there's too many themes. So they're all kind of related, but there's a lot going on in this ad group to the point where if someone searches on PC Notebook, for example, this ad is kind of generic and it's not necessarily going to drive the user to click. It's not going to be a compelling ad. For example, looking at the other side, you have a tightly themed good ad group. This is an optimal ad group for search, and they're connected to an ad that makes sense. The other benefit of creating tightly themed ad groups is that you're going to perform better on the content network. So what I'll talk about a little bit later is how we match ads to the content network, and part of that is based on the theme that your keyword list presents. All right. So here are some ways to increase traffic very quickly. So obviously, more keywords equals more traffic. So if you're advertising an ad group featuring hotel, you could add unique variations and like cheap hotel, discount hotel, budget hotel, adding plurals of all of those different things. The other thing you may want to think about when you do this is how these keywords affect your CPC or what CPCs you should use. So think about that as you add them, which ones are more important to you. And then here's what I wanted to show you about the search query report. So this is one of the best tools within AdWords, like I said. And if you haven't tried Search Query Report yet, I highly recommend it. It helps you find great new keywords and also negative keywords to improve performance. The Search Query Report is a tool that allows you to see the search queries that are triggering your ads to show. There is a match type in Google called expanded match, which means that Google analyzes the different keywords your ads are showing on, and sometimes we may show your ad on a query that's technically not even in your account if we find that it's going to deliver a relevant ad. And so it's important for you to find out what those queries are and formally add them into your account so you can begin to micromanage those keywords, right? So here's an example of a Acme computer business running on a branded keyword term. They run the search query report. They find additional keywords that their ad was being shown on that they technically didn't have in their account. So they add these formally into their account, but hey, they find another keyword, Michael Acme, that's actually not relevant. So they add that as a negative keyword. Yes, good question.
Does this work on word keywords and phrase keywords the same way?
So the question is, does this work on broad keywords and phrase keywords the same way?
You show the relevant ad. I know you're going to show a more relevant ad than a phrase keyword. But what about, I'm sorry, and a broad keyword? What about if you only have phrase keywords?
Okay, so will Google show your ad on additional keywords if you have phrase match keywords in your account, is the question? Okay, so actually that's something I'm not sure about, so I can check into that for you.
Because I've seen on my reports
So are you,
like 10-15% you guys are talking in keywords.
okay,
No relevance to me whatsoever.
okay.
I'm running in a phrase keyword.
Okay, so what it sounds like to me is that the expanded match is working, so you're seeing additional keywords your ad's being served on. Okay, so what you should be doing in that instance is adding those keywords as negative keywords into your account.
Isn't the whole point of phrase keywords for me to control the keywords that I'm using and for you guys to show?
Yes, so that the point is to serve the ads on the keywords that make sense for you. So you've designated that you want the ads to show only for the phrase that's within the quotation marks. So there may be other instances where Google sees a connection between that phrase, but it's, the reason why we offer a tool like this is to put the power in your hands to make a decision about whether or not that is truly relevant to you. And then over time, in addition, if the expanded match keyword doesn't work for you, we also stop serving it.
No, but at the same time, when you're on phrase match and you do search query report,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually it's only going to show you the exact or phrase keyword. If you go outside that scope, it's going to show you that 15 keywords have been searched. It doesn't show you exactly the keyword.
So,
It only shows you what you have. It doesn't give you exactly what thing you have more.
okay, it sounds like you have a specific case. Why don't we chat afterward and we can you can give me some examples. Okay, great. Another question.
Yeah, so you mentioned this expanded match.
Right,
Which is not one of the three classical matches.
That's
Is there a way
right.
to turn it off?
no, there's not a way to turn it off.
So it's a bonus.
It's
that
a
we-
bonus.
That we pay for.
Yeah, well, so it's actually I think it's delivering higher quality to you. I think it's delivering more. Because we know, just based on the analysis that happens automatically within the account, which keywords tend to work most well and drive traffic for your business. So I think it's actually a
But you
bonus.
don't know the ROI. You don't know whether it converts or not. So
All right.
I think we should be able to make that decision. But obviously this is another discussion. I mean, the gentleman at the back obviously is losing money
Okay.
because of this.
All right, well,
Okay.
I would hope that, obviously if you have concerns about it, that's definitely a great thing to give feedback on. So I appreciate what both of you are saying. I think in most cases, however, most people would think that it's actually a bonus. And what happens over time is if those ads aren't driving traffic, or if we find they're not performing well, then we stop showing the ads in
The
those
problem is
keywords.
that they drive traffic, but they don't convert.
The ROI goes down and the cost per click goes up. The only way
CPR
is
goes down,
Okay, so why don't we chat about this afterwards? Happy to take that feedback back. But in the meantime, I also recommend you adding those keywords, running a search query report, adding the keywords that don't perform as negative keywords. And then also, if you understand what keywords are driving most ROI, one of the things we can talk about is how to drive more traffic from those keywords and focus more on those keywords. Okay? So I'll take one more question, then I have to continue. So yes.
Is there any point in adding plurals if your keywords are in broad?
If your keywords are in broad. So is there any point in adding additional plural keywords if you already have broad match keywords? And here I say any keyword that you'd like your ad to show on, I highly recommend adding it to your account. So just to be sure. And the other reason to do that is so that you can see the specific metrics for that keyword and evaluate it later yourself.
So you're
Okay.
saying that I would get more traffic if I had the exact of the plural, even though the broad should trigger it most of the time?
Okay, it should. So It likely will, so it'll likely automatically expand and show on that plural match, but to make sure that it actually does, I recommend adding it to your account. And then also the other thing is that you'll be able to track the metrics for that keyword specifically, whereas you wouldn't be able to if it wasn't in your account formally. Okay? All right. So I know there's a lot of concern about quality score here, and okay. Why don't we chat afterwards about how we can help make sure that your quality score is where you need it to be. Okay. All right. So this is just a final example of running the search query report, which you should do continually to expand your keyword list and add negative keywords to rule out the irrelevant impressions. Okay, so let's move on from here, and then can you hold your question for just a moment? I just want to make sure I get through a few more slides. All right, so another example here is, in order to increase traffic and make sure that you're covering, is to mirror the site to cover all products. So if you're specifically in retail, this is a great way to build an automatic sitemap for your account. So your campaigns can correspond to specific product areas or sections of the website. And then each of your ad groups can be various products or services. Right? So this is an easy way to set up the structure for your account. Okay. Last thing I want to talk about here before moving on into some more advanced strategies is picking the appropriate landing page. So users are very impatient, right? So they want to find what they're looking for after they do the search very quickly. I read somewhere in a report that users spend maybe 8 seconds looking at a page and if they can't find what they're looking for, they move on. Okay, so consider here an example, a website that sells several major brand printers, including Acme brand. It's just a quick participation point. What would be a good landing page for the keyword Acme printers? So those of you who are more advanced, bear with me really quickly through this. So here's the first landing page option. It displays a list of all printer manufacturers. So if you're a user searching for the keyword Acme printers, you click on an ad that takes you to this landing page, do you think that this would be the ideal landing page for you? So I see some heads shaking, no. Why not? So there's a lot. There's just a lot going on here. So they're looking for Acme printers, and they're seeing there are other types of printers here, like Schlepson, Easy Does It, and a Frodak Go-Getter, for example. So this is not ideal, but there are good keywords for this page. So you want to think about how to align your keywords with the landing pages you're driving traffic to. So in this case, buy printer, so more general keywords here. Here's another example. If you search for the keyword Acme printers, and you're taken to a page that shows the Acme 710C. Is this a good landing page? Yeah, it's the only Acme printer. Yeah, so maybe you weren't looking for the Acme 710C. It's a little bit too specific. So this is something else to think about, right? Good keywords for this landing page are very specific keywords. And this is actually something to think about. So for those of you, again, focused on conversion traffic, using product codes and product IDs can be really great because consumers who are looking for things like this often know exactly what they want. So creating a campaign around specific product IDs can be a good idea. Also, landing page option 3. So is this a good page for Acme printers? Yay! Okay, so too hot, too cold, just right? So here we have 3 printers. I'll focus on Acme, Acme Ultimate 2000, and El Cheapo Deluxe. Okay, so we found our page. All right, so from here, we're going to move into a little bit of the advanced strategies and take some questions. So I'm going to fly through this part. But first I wanted to, is it okay to hold your questions to the end? Because we're a little bit behind and I want to make sure I cover everything. Thank you. All right, so this is actually an advanced strategy, but it's not so advanced because I think everyone should be doing it. And what that strategy is having an annual seasonal plan for your advertising on Google and any other networks that you may be advertising on. Okay, so planning in advance so that you can capture market share and take advantage of opportunities along the way. Okay, so you want to begin to think about your online spend across the seasons and understanding your verticals, what makes sense. So this is a snapshot looking at the retail space. So looking at January, when you have your retail sales, you have travel offers, and then there are various holidays in between that you can tie your marketing to. Obviously then moving into Christmas and being prepared for the spike that comes around the holidays. And here's an example of a detailed plan that you might create, encompassing everything from what types of keywords and ads you're going to add. So actually booking time on your calendar to make sure that you build campaigns, write ad text, and choose keywords that are focused around different events. Planning time to upload those creatives and AdWords in preparation for these events. What happens throughout the year is that you see spikes in various areas in CPC. So you want to increase your CPC in advance to prepare for that, and also increase your budget. Because what can happen is if your ads aren't always on, you can lose market share, and you can also miss opportunity. Here's just an example of how you could create a seasonal ad around Valentine's Day, and it does attract users. It is compelling to users looking for specific products or services around that time. Definitely can help improve click-through rate. Okay, and here's what I was alluding to here, just an example of what happens to CPCs in the run-up to Valentine's Day. And so this is something that you should be aware of in your specific space so that you can prepare to increase your CPC to match up with that so you're not edged out of the auction. Okay? So daily budget. It's also important to think about having a daily budget that can accommodate the traffic that's searching on keywords during these times as well. So you want to check and see if your daily budget is being continually hit or exceeded. And one way to make sure that you're continuing to serve the keywords that are supporting you most well is to break the keywords out that are driving high volume traffic and that are having the best ROI, so you can manage them more closely. I'll talk about that in just a second. But again, like I said, if you don't have the daily budget to accommodate the traffic, it's like closing your shop when there are people standing outside waiting for you. So moving into the next space, separating campaigns into top volume performers and versus ROI drivers. Okay, so looking at specific campaign structure, there's a lot of different ways to set up your campaign. And there's really no wrong or right way to set up your campaign. It all depends on what works best for you. But here's a suggestion. So here's somebody advertising car insurance, right? And they've done a lot here. They have women's insurance, car types, brand, misspellings. But they've also separated their campaigns out into keywords that are converting and also keywords that are high volume drivers. So what I'm going to talk about are specific ways to work through the campaigns that are converting and the ones that are high volume. So here's an example. This is the same example from the car insurance space. So we actually did a test on this leading car insurance provider. And what we found is in the quarters before versus the quarters after, once we separated those campaigns and started to manage them more closely, we started to write ad text, we started to build additional ad groups off of the keywords that were driving most conversions and the most volume, we started to see improved results. So we started to nurture those aspects of the account more closely. So not only did conversions increase, but cost per conversion fell, right? So this is definitely a strategy I encourage everyone to try. Here's a 3-step strategy to split out your top volume drivers and nurture them. So quick and easy. The first step, run a keyword report in your account and find the keywords that are driving 80% of your clicks. So once you're aware of what those are, you put those into a separate campaign. And then finally, if you understand what your CPA is, because you want to understand what your CPA is, what your ROI is here, then you can begin to manage the CPC and the traffic more closely to make sure that you're getting the results that you need. The other thing to think about is making sure that once you split these out, these high volume keywords out, that you're still having the correct blended CPA across your account. So these are some strategies to split out. I know I'm just getting started on these. If anyone wants to talk more about creating ROI-focused campaigns or high-volume campaigns, I'm definitely going to hang out after the session. One of the other things I want to talk about is splitting out your campaigns for the content network. So for those of you who are new to this, the content network is a network of thousands and thousands of websites or publishers that display AdWords ads on their sites, right? And what this does is it creates value beyond search. So beyond your ad showing at Google, your ad can show on all of these different sites, and it's kind of a different animal than the search network, and you want to treat it differently. So for those of you who don't have a separate campaign focused on the content network, I recommend thinking about it. So how does this work? So let me show you why it's important to create a different campaign. So the first thing we do to figure out how to match an ad to a page is we scan the website, right? So once we understand what this website is about, we break out the themes that make sense. So we analyze the page and we begin to understand, what is this page about? What's the message of this page? We then break those keywords into concepts and categories. And what this allows you to do when advertising on the content network is figure out how to create ads and keyword lists that are complementary to those messages. And this is why it's so important to keep a theme tight so that we know what your keyword list is about and therefore how we match your ad to that page. So I want to highlight the difference between a search optimized campaign and a content network optimized campaign. So these are both themed keyword lists, but you can see there's a distinct difference, well actually not distinct, it's a subtle difference between how you would optimize for the search network and the content network. A search optimized page is very specific and very tightly themed. However, if you do this on the content network, it may be too specific and you may be ruling out some of the traffic that you could potentially get. So on the content network campaign, it's still themed, but it's a little bit more general. So it's to encourage the traffic, but still to deliver the message to Google what it is that you're advertising. Does that make sense, everyone? Okay. 2 questions. Question and then question.
Is it fair to say that using the Google wheel feeds you exactly what content wants to see?
So is it fair to say using the Google
Wheel in search, there's a beta Google wheel.
Ah,
For the
okay.
search term, and you get a tree that pops it.
Ah, okay. So I'm not certain, so I can't speak to the Google wheel.
Second thing would be,
okay.
Is it also true that naming your ad groups as opposed to making arbitrary names, which I used to do, actually naming the ad groups also feeds the engine what it wants to see?
Okay. So does naming your ad groups make any difference for the engine?
The names you
Yeah. So I don't believe it uses the names to match, but there is a benefit to making sure that your names are well, I guess, organized, right? And so just to save you time for efficiency's sake, so you know exactly where everything is. But what we use to match the ad to the page is your keyword list theme. So it's specifically looking at your keyword list.
So it doesn't care at all what the ad group name is?
No, I don't believe so. No. So there was one question back there, and then I have to move on. So yes.
You have the keyword list that there is one broad keyword, and there are like keywords which contain that phrase, that broad keyword. And if you remove the other phrases, the other keywords that have that broad keyword, main keyword, will it affect on the content network?
Okay, so you have a mixture of different match types in a keyword list.
Like one keyword, and then it's used in different other word combinations, and then you remove one of the word combinations basically containing that main keyword. Will it affect the content network, or will it keep the theme of the basically?
Okay. Okay, so I think I'm understanding your question. So if not, please find me after the session and we can talk about it. But What's most important to think about in creating a keyword list for the content network is making sure that all of the keywords are related, right? So whether or not you take a keyword out of your keyword list, if it still has a general theme, then you should be okay. Okay? So hopefully that answers your question. Let me move on. We have just a few more slides, and then I'll be able to take more questions. Okay. So the other thing about the content network and the beauty of breaking out a campaign for the content network is that you're able to advertise in different ways. So for example, if you're advertising auto insurance, you can create direct campaigns, complementary campaigns, and interested audience campaigns. So here's what this means. So you can do traditional direct advertising. So you are advertising auto insurance, you serve your ad on auto insurance related content. A complementary campaign, I call this like the peanut butter and jelly campaigns because they go together. You have an auto insurance campaign, but you're advertising on a website that delivers information about cars. So people looking for information about cars might be looking for information about auto insurance. This is great because you wouldn't necessarily be able to do this on the search network because it wouldn't necessarily be relevant. And then the third part is that for interested audiences, you serve auto insurance, and maybe it's a website for people who are car lovers or drivers or just people who are interested in a specific topic. So let me give you some concrete examples to illustrate this. So really quickly, here the first shot you see here is a website. Keywords that would be great for a content network to drive traffic here, all related to car insurance, right? So that's for a direct campaign. Versus a complementary campaign, get auto insurance, cheap auto insurance on a do-it-yourself page, for example. And then here's the How Stuff Works page for an interested audience campaign. You could do keywords like auto insurance quote, cheap auto insurance quotes. So you can see there's a subtle difference between each of these three types of campaigns that you can do on the content network. And here's just a quick example of what types of ads you might create. So this is something that some of you may not have think about, but I encourage you to try. Okay, so major takeaways for this. So I know we've covered a lot in this hour. Make sure you're thinking about budgets and locations when you're optimizing your campaigns. Really consider your plan, what you have to spend, and where you want to get from point A to point B. Keep your ad groups as tightly themed as possible to be relevant, but if you're creating a content campaign, you want to think about it a little bit differently. Be descriptive. So to your point, this is naming your ad groups, naming your campaigns descriptively can save you time in managing your account, especially when it gets really large. Keywords, including a wide variety of variations, and always, always, always adding negative keywords. Also your ad text, so including the keyword theme, using action-oriented language, particularly letting the user know what it is you want them to do once they go to the website. And then finally, continually testing different ads to see what works best. Okay, so experiment, experiment, experiment. Some additional resources for you. Highly encourage you to take a look at these tools if you're not already using them. So I would imagine for those of you who've been using AdWords for some time, you're already using the Google Keyword tool. Definitely recommend using Google Analytics. So this is another product that enables you to track and measure where users are coming from, which keywords are converting best for you. Highly encourage you to take a look at this solution. AdWords Editor allows you to manage your account offline. So you can add keywords, write ads, upload large numbers of creatives to your account at the same time. Google Conversion Optimizer. So I know a lot of people here are interested in CPA and ROI. So making sure that you test out our tool, Google Conversion Optimizer, which automatically adjusts your CPC bids until it finds the one that converts most well for you. Also, for those of you who have websites, I recommend the Google Website Optimizer, which allows you to test different versions of your site to see which ones are performing best, and then you can address different parts of your site that make sense for users. Okay, so it allows you to automatically optimize that. And that's all I have for today. Let's take just a few questions, and then I'll send you off to the next thing. Oh, and just a quick plug, we have a Google Affiliate Network table just outside if anyone wants to visit, and please come by and talk to me. All right, question right here first.
For me, beta my existence has always been quality score.
Right, I hear that. I'm hearing that a lot today. Okay.
So in this case, we've gone through the AdWords campaign. We haven't really gone through what, as a website, works for high quality score. Where can I find information on how to build a website that ranks really high on quality scores?
Okay, so how do you create a website that works really well, that can drive a high quality score?
It's
Right.
what Google is looking for.
Right. So just think about it this way. Substantive content that's relevant, right? So when you build a website, making sure that the content there is substantive so that we have something to evaluate, and that content is relevant to what it is that you're advertising. And then when you build your ads and keywords, making sure there's a connection. So think about it this way. Putting yourself in the shoes of a user, if you're doing a search query, there should be a connection between the query, the ad that they click on, and then the landing page. And the landing page should have some substantive content to the point where we understand what it is, the message it is that you're delivering without being spammy, right?
Do you have a resource?
We do have a resource.
Okay.
So in the Google Help Center,
Okay.
the Google AdWords Help Center, search for Google Site Quality Guidelines, and you should find a checklist. But the rule of thumb to think about is just making sure that you have substantive, relevant content on your website. Okay. So, question right here in the black shirt, and then we'll come back to you, sir.
If my goal is to drive more traffic, and I never reach my daily campaign goals or budget,
Right.
In the settings of the campaigns, is it best to set it to? You have two options: one, deliver ads slowly over time, and one, serve ads as fast as possible.
Okay.
If my goal is more traffic, how should I set it?
Okay. So your goal is more traffic. So there are a couple different things you can do. So what do you do if you're not meeting your daily budget and you want to make sure that you're spending that effectively? So just talking about the two settings he was referring to, one of the settings, like I said, optimizes your ad. It serves them, the ads, rotates them until it figures out which one is best performing, and it shows that one most often. There's also another setting in the account. It's called accelerated, and it just shows your ad as people are searching for it, right? So those are two different separate distinct goals that you have there. If you're more interested in seeing which ads are performing best, I recommend sticking with the automatic optimization. Accelerated, if you just want your ad to show until it's done, that's fine. But another thing to think about, rather than just choosing accelerated, might be using some of the optimization strategies I talked about to help you meet that budget while still making sure that you're serving the most compelling ad. So for example, I would consider adding additional relevant keywords, expanding into different areas on our products or services you weren't previously covering to meet that budget, but continually making sure that you're looking at your ROI and your traffic and your click-through rate to be sure that you're still serving on things that are going to work best for you.
Can I follow up with that real quick?
Real quick, and then I'll take a question over here.
If I've already tested hundreds and hundreds of ads
Okay.
for these ad groups, and I really do know what ad works best. So in that case, I should use accelerated then, it sounds like, to run the most traffic possible. Well,
here's another way to look at it. So, and I mean, if accelerated meets your goals, I think it's fine to try it. But, you know, so for example, if you already have the ad that's showing like 90% of the time because the system says that it is the best ad, that's fine. But I recommend even testing additional ads. And the other thing is you may want to do is look at your keywords that are converting most strongly and find variations of those keywords to add to your account to perhaps drive more traffic and meet your budget, right? So I tend towards experimentation. Keep on testing. You found what works best, try variations of that so you continually driving towards better relevance. Okay? question right here first.
What triggers a manual review and how do we avoid getting slapped?
What? Okay. So what triggers a manual review and how do you avoid getting slapped? Can you be more specific?
Well, my website's getting manual review, getting slapped before we score 1.
So for quality
Yes,
reasons.
well, from 10 to 1 within a few minutes, so I've got a manual review how to avoid it.
Okay. So for your website, again, I think making sure that you're adhering to the site quality guidelines. If you want, if you had a specific experience you want to come talk about, we can certainly do that. But I think the key thing is, again, go try the AdWords Help Center. Make sure you're fully versed on the site quality guidelines, and that will, as long as you're adhering to that, you should.
What is triggering a manual review, though?
So that I can't speak to, but if you, again, like I make myself available after the session if you want to talk about a specific situation that you had.